I'm Mike, and today, 5 pros and 5 cons of a raw diet. This is meant to be as objective as possible since I am neither a raw foodist or somebody that is anti-raw. Alright, let's get right into it. Pro number 1, raw diets are less processed. You by default avoid all of those processed boxed foods with added chemicals and preservatives and just weird additives that who knows what they put in nowadays. This is huge if you were recuperating from a disease and likely why we see some ridiculous before and afters of people on a raw food diet. And seemingly harmless cooked foods are often really toxic. If you just want some bread, there's a good chance it's made with brominated flour, and bromine is toxic to humans. Want to go out to a restaurant? Well, you'll probably whiz right by the USDA's daily recommended upper limit of sodium intake because of all the salt. And the list goes on. Con number 1, toxic produce. This goes both ways, and unless you're able to afford organic, fresh vegetables and produce are often blasted with chemicals, pesticides, and other things. For example, oranges are often picked unripe and then put in gas chambers to become more orange. Non-organic apples can be dipped in inedible wax to prolong their shelf life. 11 out of 12 of the dirty dozen are conventionally eaten raw, and smashing in all these foods, well, the toxins can add up. Pro number 2, weight loss. For the average American going on a raw diet, it becomes very difficult to over-consume calories. And there are a few reasons you lose weight. Number 1, by eating a raw food diet, you're gonna eat a heck of a lot less salt, you're gonna lose some water weight, and another one, as I mentioned in my obesogens video, toxins alone can be responsible for 30% of fat storage, as this study about mice showed. And it's fair to say that your average raw diet is less toxic than your average cooked diet. Finally, if you have diabetes, just by losing weight, you will likely get rid of diabetes, so that's also a pro. Con number 2, risk of going underweight. This is by no means everyone's experience, but it is a general consensus that you have to put a little bit more effort into getting enough calories. Once you have lost that weight, it can be hard to stop losing weight. I mean, some of our ape cousins chew 50% of their waking hours. By no means is this a nutrient issue. It's not that you can't get enough nutrients on a raw diet. It's more that there's a tendency, because of pre-existing eating habits, to not eat enough calories, and because of this, a lot of people have reported starvation symptoms. Hair loss, super low energy, so you just have to pay attention to make sure you're actually getting enough calories. Pro number 3, save on health bills. For those of you lucky enough to live in a place with free healthcare, let's just call this get off your medication. A lot of people go on raw food diets to cure their disease, and a lot of people have cured their disease. There is no denying that. Granted, these are anecdotal and not from large studies, but people have cured their diabetes, their autoimmune diseases, and in some cases even cancer, but no promises there. Jeanette Murray, a woman who had terminal cancer in her 50s, went raw, among other therapies, and by her late 60s, she had kicked the cancer, and just to prove the point, she decided to run a marathon every single day for a year around Australia, eating only raw food. Con number 3, it's more expensive up front to eat raw. It's very easy to rack up the bills. For example, if you're just in a grocery store and you're looking at nut butter, normal nut butter jar might be $7, and then next to it you see the raw nut butter that's like $20-something, and it's like, how does it cost more when it wasn't cooked? And no, not everybody is blessed with swaths of local fruit trees that just drop fruit for you to eat for free. But starches, on the other hand, cooked starches are very cheap, and they are the main caloric staple for the world and have no negative health effects, although the discipline to eat them truly as whole foods is very rare. I'm gonna have some sweet potato. Fries? What happened? Pro number 4, antioxidant-rich foods. You default to eating a lot of these on a raw food diet, and antioxidants literally block DNA damage of your metabolism, of just DNA damage from living, from aging. And that is why people like Annette Larkins, who are long-term raw foodists, literally look 30 years younger than they are and 40 years younger than her husband, who is actually younger than her. Con number 4, dental risks. This doesn't necessarily happen to everybody on a raw food diet, but there have been many reports of people getting cavities and getting general tooth enamel damage from eating high acid citrus and other fruits like that. Here's a study showing that a fruit smoothie can cause as much dental erosion as soda. So you have to use a straw and be careful about this issue. Pro number 5, raw food community. It is very clear that you can make some great friends just by going to things like Fruit Lux, fruit festivals, and of course, the online community. I've also noticed that spiritually going raw can be very rewarding for certain people. Con number 5, dogma. If you decide to go cooked or eat a cookie or something, that same raw food community might turn on you and pounce on you like a bunch of wildcats. And where there's dogma, there's often pseudoscience. And in the raw food movement, there is a myth that if you eat cooked foods, you will get an immune response. And that is based off some science that has not been repeated that was from the 1920s and 30s. In reality, it is cooked animal foods that give you an immune response, and cooked plant foods in general do not. Steamed broccoli is not the devil after all. This plays into another myth in the raw food movement that humans have not evolved to eat cooked food. This is wrong because we have been cooking food for anywhere between 400,000 to 2 million years depending on the source, and Homo sapiens have only existed for 100,000, maybe 200,000 years. In the end, I will say this, a raw food diet is a great way to heal a plethora of diseases, whether it is the raw food itself or the tendency to eat no processed foods on a raw food diet. It's a bit like how when you're on a raw food diet, your fallback plan is whole cooked foods, but if you're on a whole cooked food diet, your fallback plan is probably French fries. And to be objective, I have to mention that most people don't stay on a raw diet. There are so many raw YouTubers that are no longer raw, like Ravana. And that's because once they've cured their disease, they're just like, give me a sandwich. To summarize, raw food diets offer a clear-cut way to dodge processed foods, but they are more expensive, but you do get a ton of antioxidants, which delays aging, although you have to look out for the dogma. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know if there are any pros and cons I missed. Subscribe, like, and thanks again.